Dr. Navin Kumar, sir.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. We'll just start a session in 2 minutes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, my dear participants. Now, the topic is on legal formalities in an enterprise, a Factory Act, PF and labor laws by Mr. Navin Kumar, sir. Anumala, sir is CEO, Oscar Global Research. Sir is an advocate with a double graduation of both engineering as well as law. This is a very different combination, sir, really. So, sir has an educational background with qualification of BA in biomedical engineering with LLM, that is a corporate law, and diploma in IPR with the Nalsar University, and also diploma in electronics, and registered patent attorney and the trademark attorney with the Government of India. Sir is the founder and CEO of Oscar Global Research, which has been established in the year 2013, and sir has been into the services of providing an IPR and legal support services to more than 1,000 startups, small and medium entrepreneurs across India and overseas. Oscar Global Research has been consistent in providing end-to-end business and IPR strategies and all other legal strategy needs for all professionals. Sir has practiced before Hyderabad High Court, City Civil Court, District and Session Judge, and other tribunals. Sir has a vision to be a global leader in providing IPR and legal services to the companies and individuals to strategically work on in the competitive business environment safely and successfully. Sir has a mission to support 10,000 startups, engineering colleges, and business in creating value-added patents, trademarks, and legal strategies, and place them in a superior position in national and international market. Very thankful to you, sir, getting an opportunity to have an interaction with our participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, first of all, for Gangaraju College for giving me this opportunity to present before you the topic of the strategies and the legal formalities that is required for an enterprise. So, and moving forward, we'll be discussing some of the important aspects of these formalities that are required. And if you have any questions, you can please interrupt and ask me in between also.
Sir,
So,
you have made as a co-host, sir. You can share your screen, sir.
yeah,
Yes. Thank you, sir.
thank you. So my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir.
So to begin with, actually, as Padma Garu has introduced, so I've done my engineering and law, and I've been practicing with several startups and other companies for uh, the all the legal strategies that are required for the company, and we'll discuss certain things by going forward. So we have 18 years of experience in the industry and worked with more than 1,000 startups, companies, and MSMEs individuals. So the objectives today we'll discuss more about Factories Act, Industrial Dispute Act, and also the legal formalities that are required for different enterprises. So first of all, the Factories Act is established in the year 1948. So why actually this Factory Act came into the existence? It is actually to create a proper safety environment for the workmen. So, and to secure the health, safety, and welfare of the workmen, and also to have a proper working hours, which has to be designated because prior to 1947, the India was under the rule of Britishers, and there were circumstances where the Indians are the only laborers working in their factories, and they were treated very badly. There were no proper compensation that they used to give to them, and they used to work more than 2 months, 3 months without any wages, and also very ill-treated. So now, so because after the independence, this Factories Act 1948 came into the existence to provide all these issues that were there prior to the independence, and also the all the other benefits that are required to the workers, and most importantly to provide precaution for the safety of the workers and prevention of accidents. So because any environment in any factory, any office where any kind of activity is going on, the workers are performing their duties, there are safety is one of the main important criteria for any person who is actually working in such place. So now, what does a factory means? So, the factory means any premises which includes an open land as well, and or a land with a building or a space enclosed by walls. So, normally people think that a factory means it should be a kind of an industrial, a big land, a big setup where there are huge machinery that is only called as a factory. That is not correct. So the manufacture, so a factory means a many manufacturing process which is carried on with or without the aid of power. Now, if you see here, can a factory be called as a factory even any manufacturing process is carried out without the aid of the power? Yes. So the definition of factory means any manufacturing process that is carried on with or without the aid of the power. So there are so many products you can see in day-to-day life which are actually manufactured without the aid of the power. So in those kind of the products that are being manufactured, so these are actually can be considered as a factory. So another what is the important criteria is when the manufacturing process is carried out with at least 10 people, if it is manufactured by using power, then that is called a factory. And so it should be less than, not less than 10 people, and more than 20 people if it is without the power. A small example is if you see BD workers. The BD workers actually so many people. That's just BD is just nothing but the inserting the tobacco on the leaf, betel leaf, and then just you need to wrap it up and then prepare a bundle, and then that bundle is wrapped. So in case if such kind more than 20 people are working in a BD in a premises, wrapping the BDs and then packing the BDs. So even if more than 20 people are there, there is no power involved there. So even that is also considered as a factory as per the Factories Definition Act. So, and this condition of having at least 10 people with power or 20 people without power on any one day of the preceding 12 months. So in the past 12 months, on today's date, if I had at least 10 people working on any day in the past 1 year, I'll be considered as a factory. If it is without power, 20 people, then again I will be considered as a factory. So on any, it is calculated in a preceding months where on today's date for the last 12 months, it is taken into consideration. So what does exactly manufacturing process means? So any process for making, altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, packing, oiling, washing, cleaning, breaking up, demolishing, or otherwise treating or adapting any article or substance with a view to its use, sale, transport, delivery, or disposal. So if you see even the ornamenting, the finishing also, the packing, the oiling, have you ever thought that even a washing aspect is also considered as one of the manufacturing process for another definition of Factories Act? So these are all works that comes under the manufacturing process. And in case if any of these processes are involved with 10 employees using power and 20 employees without power, it is considered as a factory. And the other manufacturing process is pumping oil, water, sewage, or any other substance. So this another definition where this is also considered under the factory's definition of manufacturing process. And this other one is generating, transmitting, and transforming power. So even the generation of power, the transforming and or transmitting the power is also considered as a manufacturing process. Composing types of printing of by letter press, lithography, photogravure, or other similar process, or book binding. So if you see the book binding process, this is also a process where even if you employ in a large scale, the binding process where no power is involved, even more than 20 people are employed, then it is also, if though it is actually operated under normally at the residential areas or something, but still that is termed as a factory. The constructing, reconstructing, repairing, refitting, finishing, or breaking up of ships or vessels. Even this also comes under the definition of manufacturing process. So constructing, reconstructing. So preserving or storing any article in cold storage. So if you see the cold storages and if you are employing more than 20 employees in that 10 employees, because cold storage is based on power. So even that comes under the factory. So now, who is the occupier of the factory? This is a definition that actually needs to be understood in depth. The reason is, who is actually going to be liable? So if you talk about a factory, so a person who is defined under the Factory Act as occupier. So a person who has ultimate control over affairs of the factory, who eventually can be a partner or a director. So usually these are not a kind of a proprietorship concern companies which are actually formed. So even a proprietorship company who is employing 10 employees with power and 20 employees without power still be considered as a factory. So the partner or a director of the company, that he's a person who is termed as the occupier of the factory. So occupier, what is the role of the occupier? He should ensure health, safety, welfare of the workers while working in the factory. So the main essence of the Factories Act is to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the workers. So now, who is responsible for this ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the workers? Is the burden is kept on the occupier. Occupier is actually the owner of the firm, owner of the company, owner of the factory, who is actually running it. But so he should ensure. So this is a mandatory condition for any industrial as a factory owner who runs this. So the name of the occupier of the factory is required to be informed to the chief inspector of the factories, and because the chief inspector of the factories is the person who verifies whether the factory is running as per the norms specified in the Factories Act or not. So the occupier will be held responsible if the provisions of the Factories Act are not complied. So this is the definition. So now we'll come to the duties of the occupier of the factory. So every occupier should ensure that so far as it's reasonable practical, the health, safety and welfare of the workers while they're at work in the factory. The provision and maintenance of the plant and systems of the work in the factory that are safe and without risk to health. Many a times we hear the news that, so because there is uh, the boiler blast and some other accidents in the factory for the workers. The majority of the reasons is there could be a negligence from the worker, could be one of the reasons. But other reasons are like not having proper infrastructure and not having proper equipment, and also uh, they prevent doing any maintenance for those products. So because of that preventive maintenance, lack of doing the preventive maintenance, these kind of safety to the workers are being affected. So the occupier's responsibility is that he has to ensure safety and absence of risk of health in connection with the use, the handling, the storage, and transport of particles and substances. So the risk for the worker working in a factory can be at the stage at the equipment stage where he's doing some manufacturing process, or during the transportation and handling, all and also at the time of storage. There are possibilities of any kind of a issues that can arise for the worker because of lack of proper safety measures and proper lack of proper infrastructure. And the provisions of such information, instruction, training, and supervision are necessary to ensure the health and safety of all workers at work. So now there are skilled laborers and there are unskilled laborers. Now, when it comes to factory and when it comes to machinery, when it comes to some sophisticated equipments, there should be a proper training to the employees working in the factory, and there should be proper training and also proper supervision. Most importantly, they have to understand each and every do's and don'ts of handling those equipments. Not only the while operating the equipments, while transportation, while handling it, and while storaging the articles. So this information, the educating the details of that information to the particular worker is a burden on the occupier to do this kind of activity. So now the occupier of the company or the factory, rather we can say, must ensure that all these educational and the aspects of avoiding risk to the health of the safety and safety of the workers has to be taken on a primary level, and also to be taken on priority, and also has to be taken at it as a very important aspect apart from doing the other business aspects. So the continuation duties of the occupier factory. So the maintenance of all places of work in the factory in a condition that is safe and without risk the health and provisions, and such maintenance of such means of access to egress from such places are as safe and without such risk. The provision or maintenance or monitoring of such working environment in the factory for the workers that is safe without risk to health and adequate as regards facilities and arrangements for their welfare at work. So this we have already discussed the same thing like maintenance and monitoring of working environment in the factory for the workers that is safe. So what are the other facilities and conveniences that has to be provided to the workers? Cleanliness and the arrangement of disposing waste and effluents. If you understand, so many chemical factories are there where the waste itself is hazardous. Now, the effluents are there. The effluents are again a chemical compositions that are byproducts of the manufacturing process, where the effluents are of no use to the factory. So now there is a provision by government to how safely you can dispose of the effluents. But what happens here? The effluents are hazardous chemical which has to be handled again in a different protocols. Now, to dispose of these effluents, it is again a financial burden to the companies, factories. So now the factories, what they are actually accustomed to do is, in order to avoid expenditure for the effluents to be safely disposed of, they are actually subjecting the effluents disposal in canals. And the canals are again in turn coming up and again mixing up with the oceans and the seas. And there is huge effect to the marine life and also to the humans also who are consuming the water. So these hazardous effluents are actually causing very huge damage to the society and also to the climate. Some instances are there where the effluents which are very hard, very toxic in nature, are actually being dumped inside the bores. You know what the borewell is. So wherever there are any borewell is there where the bore is not in use, or so they are just dumping the effluents in those bores also, which we recently heard of, and also into the canals. So this occupier responsibility is to not to get into such kind of unethical practices and provide proper waste disposal and also proper disposal of the effluents of the toxic chemicals. Now, adequate ventilation. So ventilation, a worker, after all, again is a human being. So when he's working in a very hazardous environment, he has to have a proper ventilation, and it is his right to work in a reasonable ventilation and also a reasonable temperature. So, because if you see at the steel factories and other factories where there is a very huge rise in temperature of the atmosphere where the workers are working. So, in that circumstances, these particular factory owner, the occupier, has to ensure that the worker is uh, exposed to a reasonable temperature where his body and his health is not getting affected, and dust and fumes a permissible limit. So why this permissible limit is there? If you see Delhi, it has got air pollution where beyond the permissible limit that is often here. So there is some kind of norms where it is permittable that a human being, a human body exposing to a particular dust particles per million ppm, it is called, or the fumes, is permissible. So beyond which the particular worker health is compromised and it gets affected. So now artificial humidification in the prescribed limits. So humidification is again in case if there is any alteration in the atmospheric humidity. So it is also essential on also the burden on the occupier to provide proper humidification so that the health of the worker is not affected. Overcrowding should be avoided. Now, usually when we talk about the factories uh, where heavy, huge equipment and machinery are there, and so many equipments running parallelly, which can cause harm to the worker. So in those circumstances, the overcrowding can actually lead to accidents. So even overcrowding should be avoided in the factory premises where the risk of worker is very high. Now, other important adequate lighting, uh, drinking water, toilets, and sweeting should be provided. Now, what are the other welfare measures that the uh, occupier is entitled to do? Is machines properly fenced to protect the workers? So there are so many machines that will be operating in the premises of the factory, and so the proper fencing within the machinery, and only the skilled person, skilled worker who is authorized, trained to work on the machine only is authorized to enter into the machine and then operate the machine is essential. There are lots and lots of time where the hoists and lifts are used in the factory because uh, the spare parts comes in a ground floor and that will be acted to shifted to the first floor, and sometimes they are lifted to the above the ground level and then installed. So because the components go on one above the other, which weigh in huge tons. So excuse me, the hoist and the lift is should be always in a good condition and it has to be tested periodically. Apart from this, the pressure plan should be checked as per the rules. So the boiler pressure, usually the boilers where it is used, uh, the pressure, if it is exceeding, then what happens is the boilers burst. So wherever pressures are being used in the in factory, so those plants should have a proper checking at the regular intervals, and there will be a sheet, a chart, the periodic maintenance chart on which the date and next maintenance date and what are the components that needs to be replaced in the next maintenance. All these things will be well maintained in the register so that these pressure plants, especially the machinery which is subject to such kind of burst or cause harm to the uh, workers in the factory or people living around the factory will be affected. So the floors, stairs should be free from obstructions, and safety appliances for ice, dust, gas, fumes should be provided to the uh, workers. Apart from that, any factory or any business entity, what I say, we should have an adequate firefighting equipment available in the premises, even it is a two-room business premises or it is a big factory setup. Adequate firefighting equipment should be provided and a mandatory condition. And safety officer should be appointed where there are more than 1,000 employees employed in the factory. So now we come to working hours. So under the Factories Act, no worker should be allowed to work more than 48 hours a week. So when it comes to 6 days of working, so it is not more than 8 hours a week. So a weekly holiday is mandatory, and if at all a worker is allowed to work on a holiday, then he should be avail a holiday in the next 3 days. That is, if on Sunday he need to work, then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, within these 3 days, he should be mandatorily be provided a holiday because body rest is important, and the condition should not exceed more than 9 hours a day. So half an hour rest should be provided for a worker who is working for every 5 hours. So total period of work should not exceed more than 10.5 hours a day. So this is actually violated in several situations. And then when it is going for overtime, then the Factory Act also provides the provision of giving a compensation for overtime. So what is the overtime wages is? Overtime will be double the rate of normal wages, which is not followed by many men. So the working hours Plus, the overtime should not exceed more than 60 hours a week. So the workers working in the factory usually work on 8 hour shift or a 12-hour shift. So if they work on a 12-hour shift, then it is more than 60 hours a week. It happens actually, which is actually against the Factories Act. So overtime in hours in a quarter should not exceed more than 50 hours. So this is majorly for the purpose of ensuring that the worker's health is not affected by overburdening him on in the factory. But many a times this is not taken care of. Now we come to the leave policy. What is this? So 1 day without loss of pay for every 20 days is entitled for a worker. So for example, if he's working for approximately uh, 5 days, 6 days a week, then he is entitled for a minimum of 15 leaves per annum. 15 leaves per annum is entitled apart from the public holidays, which are the maternity leave is mandatorily with paid leave is provided for 12 weeks as per the Factories Act. And the leaves cannot be taken for more than 3 times in a year. Usually, when a person takes a leave, they take at a stretch 4 days, 5 days, something like that. So there's a provision in the Factories Act that he should not take more than 3 times in a year. So the leave which is admissible is exclusive of holidays occurring during or at either end of leave period. So we have women workers. Now, what is the provisions that are provided for women worker under the Factories Act? So the woman cannot be employed beyond 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. So sometimes the government may provide a grant for exemption that is beyond these times, because sometimes some organizations and factories require some labor to be working on an odd times. So there could be some exemption that can be provided a prior permission to be taken by the uh, inspector of factories. Now, it is mandatory that they should not work during the time period of 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So even though there's a relaxation from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. can be done, but not between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So now if there is any change in the shift change can only happen on after weekly or other holidays, but not in between, because the routine what the factories fix in will be disturbed. So children, now children are again uh, are not allowed to work in any organization, but there are some conditions. What these children below 14 years cannot be employed. Period. So if at all you find any person who is below the 14 years of age and is working in any organization, you can immediately file a complaint and then he will be put behind the bars. So now there is a child worker who is allowed to work if he is more than 14 years and less than 15 years. So what is the condition? 4.5 hours a day. He cannot work more than 4.5 hours a day if he is 14 years, 15 years. So within 14 to 15 years, he is allowed to work, but not more than 4.5 hours. A restriction. Now, when you have employed a child within the age of 14 to 15 years, then he should actually hold a certificate by a surgeon, government surgeon, stating that he is good state of mind and good state of health. Without this, if you employ, that is actually against the Factories Act. So again, here the condition is 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. strictly no. Any child worker, we can't call him as a child worker. He is actually called as an adolescent actually. but a conditional adolescent of 14 to 15 years. So the adolescent actually comes with the age of 15 to 18 years. Now, even the adolescent also is not allowed to work between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So the 15 year to 18 years of age is called adolescent, and they can work on full day. So now inspectors. So what are the powers of the inspectors? So now there's a under the Factories Act, an inspector has been given powers and authority to come and inspect and ensure the safety of the workers. So, if the powers of the inspector, he can enter any place of the factory at any given point of time. No prior intimation, no prior appointment is needed for the inspector. The inspector can come anytime to any factory and then inspect the premises, examine the premises, the machines, and the plants. Most importantly, when the inspector examines the premises, he examines the premises with regards to the previously discussed conditions of cleanliness and also the all the other provisions, whether they have provided or not. Apart from that, he will also verify the machines, plants, working conditions, the maintenance uh, period, whether it is being properly maintained or not, and even they will also look at the safety measures near the machines and plants, whether the occupier has taken them properly or not. So the inspector can demand production of register and other documents from the occupier, because this is a kind of a raid that an inspector conducts and then looks at all the documentation whether they are done properly or not. So this is the powers of the inspector. And during this investigation, they can take out the measurements. The measurements, the reason is there should be an adequate spacing between the one machine to another machine because of the safety protocols and whether the safety protocols are being properly managed and maintained by the occupier or not. And the photographs are pertaining to the evidences that he collects and files a case against the occupier in case if these things are not in synchronization and and accordance with the Factories Act. So this is something which is important by the occupier for compulsory disclosure. So what the occupier has to disclose. So when the factory is involving any manufacturing process which is involving hazardous processes, to disclose all information regarding dangers and health hazards. So here, when the hazardous process is incorporated in the factory, so such kind of information regarding the dangers and health hazards, information should be available to the workers employed in the factory. So they should be available, they should know. If you see in the cement factory, majority of the cement factories, the employees are subjected to a different type of lung disease all the time. So they to avoid such kind of lung diseases, there are a lot of mandatory protocols that they follow in the factory so that the workers are not affected with the lung diseases for the employees, workers working in the factories. And regarding these dangers and health hazards, the chief inspector of the factories also should be aware that a factory in terms of premises is actually processing, manufacturing hazardous, deploying hazardous process, and this information needs to be uh, known to the chief inspector, and most importantly, the local authority within whose jurisdiction the factory is situated. Apart from this, the other important people to know is the general public who are living within the vicinity. So this is a compulsory disclosure by the occupier to make the general public who are within the vicinity of the factory to understand the hazardous process employed in the manufacturing process by the factory in the vicinity, in their vicinity. So and then so this comes to the end of the Factories Act. Now we come to the Industrial Dispute Act. So the Industrial Dispute Act, what exactly a dispute means? So a dispute actually can be between an employer and an employee, or employer and employer, or employee and employee. So these are all the three scenarios where a dispute may arise in any industry. So for such kind of a disputes, so the Industrial Dispute Act actually came into existence. So to actually promote good relationship between the employee and the employer. So to investigate and settlement of industrial dispute. So here, why this investigation and settlement of industrial dispute has come under the Industrial Dispute Act? This industrial growth is directly proportional to the nation's growth. So any disputes between the industries or any kind of a dispute in the industry can actually have a direct impact on the Indian economy. So that is the reason if any dispute which is an alarming in nature, which may again coexist with other factories, other industries, and if at all there's any seriousness in nature, so there is a necessary for an investigation to be done to the core level, why this kind of a dispute arose and how this can actually be settled in a proper manner, so that this cannot actually have a negative impact on the growth of the economy. So the prevention of illegal strike and lockout. Now, who does the strike? The employees does the strike. So now, if it is an illegal strike, strike is actually a right which an employee can do. But if it is illegally, they are doing to hamper the production and cause loss to the occupier, the factory owner, then this kind of provision which has to be settled. So the Industrial Dispute Act provides benefits not only to the employee but also to the employer. And but all the employer declares a lockout, that is also kind of illegal, where the employees will suffer. So what are the relief to the workmen in case of layoff or retrenchment? So now workmen, they are dependent on the daily wages that they are actually getting, not daily wages, but they based on the salaries. They can also be on the daily wages as well. So relief to the workmen in case of layoff or retrenchment is again a kind of relief by way of compensation provided by under the Industrial Dispute Act, because non-payment of proper compensation to the workmen, not payment of the proper remuneration to the workmen, is again a kind of a dispute with the workmen and the employer, which is covered under this Industrial Dispute Act. Now, the collective bargaining between the employee and the employer is again another feature of this Industrial Dispute Act. Why? Because the employee and employer should be like in a proper synchronized mode, where the business should not get halt and then it should go on. So it's every right for the employee to ask for his right and his remuneration that he is actually looking at, and the employer again may come back and say no. So if the asking for say for example 300 rupees per hour, for example, and the employer is willing to pay 200 rupees per hour, then they can actually come to a common conclusion of 250 rupees per hour or 260 or 240. It's again between both of them to bargain and then come to a conclusion. So this Industrial Dispute Act provides such provision to get the matter settled between the employee and the employer. So the other act is called Workmen Compensation Act. So to compensate a workman incapacitated by an injury from accident. So now when a workman who is working in a factory is injured during the day-to-day operations, so the compensation that needs to be provided by a workman, by the occupier, is provided under the Workmen Compensation Act. So, and also not only the compensation, Workmen Compensation Act provides the efforts on prevention of accidents and giving workmen greater freedom from anxiety and rendering industry more attractive. See, we again come back to the basics, the same thing. Like in case of any injury to the workman, the company has to compensate for the rest of the life for of the workman's life for which he has got incapacitated. So if he has incapacitated, his arm is lost, his leg is lost, his eye is lost. So for each and every such kind of injury, there is a separate relief provided in this. But with loss of life, again, this is another serious issue. So, Workmen Compensation Act gives the provision that why the occupier has to take proper precautions for avoiding such kind of accidents. Because if the employee is subject to the accident reserve, the then what happens is this is what you have to pay. Once the payment part comes into the picture, definitely the factory will try to avoid making such payment. So if they don't want to make the payment, what they have to do is they have to put all the efforts in preventing the accident. So this Workmen Compensation Act is actually a tool which uh, is for both employer and employee, so that employee gets the benefit of such incapacitation or such kind of injury that has happened during the work in the factory premises. So, because the factory has to make the payment, the occupier is liable. So, they are much in a position to take care of all the precautions where the accidents can be prevented. So, this is very safety for the workers. So the protection of workmen as far as possible from hardships arising from the accident. And as just we discussed, so for paying compensation to workmen involved in accidents while working. So now we come to the legal formalities in enterprises. So normally when a business enterprise is started, so it usually starts with a company like it's a proprietorship firm or a partnership firm, LLP, or a private limited. So when we call an enterprise business, so it could be anything be falling in this proprietorship, partnership, LLP, private limited, or limited. So when you go for a proprietorship firm, so when a single person who wants to start a firm, then that single person can only form a proprietorship firm, or he can form a company which is called one person company, OPC, private limited. So proprietorship firm does not have any kind of annual returns to be submitted to Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So proprietorship firm is an individual with an individual PAN card operating a business of any firm, where the firm which is created under the proprietorship firm operates only with the PAN card of the proprietor. So when an enterprise for partnership company is formed, when two or more than two people are jointly entering into a business and they want to do a business jointly, then a partnership firm is formed. What are the benefits of the partnership firm? So it is shared responsibilities. In the proprietorship firm, there is only one person who does all. But in the partnership firm, there are partners who share the business roles of the business. So partnership firm, when it is formed, the proprietorship firm and partnership firm, the entire liability of the business, that is in case of loss, the individual uh, is responsible for the loss. So the individual partners are liable for the loss in the partnership firm, and the proprietorship firm, 100%, the proprietor is liable for the loss. In the partnership firm, the percentage of the profit sharing, what the partnership deed says, so the loss comes under the same percentage of loss that the individual partner has to handle. So that to avoid such kind of a personal liability in the businesses, the LLP came into the picture. So LLP is limited liable partnership form. Again, this is governed by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So this is actually in between private limited firm and a partnership firm, the LLP. So the LLP comes in between the private limited and a partnership firm. And the LLP is actually, the name itself says that here this is the partnership firm and the liability is limited. So I don't have complete liability on the partner. So the liability is limited there in the LLP. Whereas in the private limited firms, the individual shareholder, the individual, they are not liable personally. The shareholders are not liable personally. So that is how the private limited firms and LLPs are formed when it is a huge entity, a large entity. Though there are large entities who are still partnership firms, but this is the segregation when a proprietorship firm is formed, when a partnership firm is formed, when an LLP is formed, and when a private limited firm is formed. So apart from this, when firms are established, what are the other legal formalities that they have to actually take to commence their business? So they should mandatorily have food license if it is a company which is dealing with food and restaurants or manufacturing of any food products, then the food license has to be obtained. So, in case if the companies or the firms which are dealing with any medicines, then the drug license has to be obtained. And in case if the labor license, a trade license, a GST, these are all the mandatory provisions, the mandatory licenses that has to be obtained for any enterprises. So without this labor license and trade license and GST, the firm is not complete. So the legal entity is not complete. So this is a mandatory licenses that needs to be taken. And GST, there's a cap that is not more than 20 lakh turnover. If you are doing a business with not more than 20 lakh turnover, then GST is not a mandatory requirement. But in case if the turnover is more than 20 lakh, then GST is essential and mandatory. Apart from that, the trademark, copyright, patent, and registrations are another important things that are also required for any businesses or any entity. So, and factory license also has to be obtained by the from the Factories Act. So the inspector comes and inspects the entire premises and then provide the factory license also under the circumstances. Apart from that, there are so many other customized licenses that are required for different businesses, so that are provided. Now here, the main reason why people prefer proprietorship firms is they have a limited business expansion. But the private limited firms, uh, private limited actually it's not, we cannot call it a firm, it's actually a company, private limited company. So the private limited company expands across the jurisdictions of, because it's completely registered under the Companies Act, valid entire India. So the partnership forms registration is actually provided by the local registration register of, it's actually by sub registrar office, SRO. So now this registrations are only after registration only you are entitled to do the businesses and open the current accounts and do business. So apart from this, these licenses help you in positioning yourself properly in the business. So now we have covered all these aspects of the major aspects of the factory acts and again the legal formalities in the enterprises. But apart from this, if you have any other questions, we are open for any discussion. there is much more to share, but because of the limited time, we need to stop here now. So before you, if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll again tell you some important aspects for what are the mistakes which the enterprises do when it comes to the companies. Basically, when a firm, any business is started, many people's mindset, based on my experience, is when I grow big, then I will look for doing a private limited company. Then they start the business. But if you are starting a business with an objective of growing big, think big. And when you think big, then automatically your mind and your thoughts and your activities will be big. And then you really go and achieve those targets what you put for. So if you're not putting your targets, high targets, then you're not going to grow. So the narrow-minded mindset of the entrepreneurs is actually making lots of entrepreneurs and startups are failing because of the mindset. So when an entity is being formed, have a proper groundwork in place and ensure that the complete life cycle of the business has to be studied from end to end and be prepared for the worst case scenarios and also be prepared for the targets that you need to reach. So that, so that is how a successful startup companies or successful companies are being formed. A small one idea can also change your life. A classic example I always quote. There was we worked with an engineering student who had actually come out with an idea that when a train travels from one destination to another, it travels through some places which are remotely located, forests, and there is no proper accessibility, road accessibility to such to the railway tracks. And if a train catches fire in those places, what happens? So this engineering student had got an idea that I will actually use the ceiling for transport and then ceiling of the railway bogie and install an equipment where the fire, if it is detected, it will extinguish the fire then and there itself immediately. So they got filed for a patent. Now they got patent registered. So they got 50 lakh rupees grant from the government to develop this invention because this is very important and essential safety feature for us. So what happens is if you are coming up with such kind of a mindset of thinking big. Now, if this becomes a blockbuster, imagine how many trains this and how many bogies are there where this equipment can be installed. So now to manufacture this and then the jurisdiction not only lies within India, wherever railways are operating across the globe, this technology can be installed. So that is how the mindset for any startup or any entrepreneur should be always. So, so with this, I end my session, and I request anyone of you want to have ask any questions, we can discuss.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any questions from the participants? Any questions from the participants? If no questions, I thank you very much, sir, for giving us the valuable insights into what are, apart from the entrepreneurship angle or as a startup, as a faculty, we do a lot of research. And apart from doing this startup, we need to know about what are the legal formalities that are required. So that was been clearly shared by you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir,
Thank you.
for being with us and giving a lot of information to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it was
Thank
pleasure talking to you all. And let's be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants to stay connected. We are now going to start the validatory session, please. Within 2 minutes, we'll get connected with the validator. We'll continue with the validatory session. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Director, sir, has joined. Dr. Jandyala Enmurthy, sir, as well as our chief guest of today's function, Dr. Jaharullah, sir, has also joined, and Dr. Himabindu, madam, also joined. So let us start the validatory session now. With all your permission, madam. Himabindu, madam.
Yes, madam. We are good to go ahead.
All right, madam. Thank you, madam. So this is Dr. Padma, professor from the Department of ECE, organizing this 2-week FDP program. Distinguished guest, esteemed faculty members, and dear participants. I stand before you today for the validatory session as the organizing chair for the virtual 2-week FDP program on innovation, research and development skills at GRAET, which has started from 19th June to today, that is 1st July. Filled with a sense of pride and gratitude, it is truly an honor to address this gathering of talent individuals who have chosen to invest their time and effort into enhancing their skills in the ever-evolving field of innovation. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the organizing committee for the meticulous planning and seamless execution of this program. We had a privilege of hosting 34 distinguished speakers who generally shared their invaluable domain knowledge and insights with us. Their expertise and diverse perspectives have enriched our understanding of innovation and provided us with a holistic view. We were fortunate to have speakers who are expert in their respective field and individuals who have dedicated their careers to pushing the boundaries of knowledge and driving the innovation forward. Their contributions have ignited our curiosity, challenged our preconceived notions, and inspired us to think beyond conventional boundaries. Each speaker has brought a unique perspective, shedding a light on different aspects of innovation, research, and development, from exploring and emerging trends in the technology and their impact on innovation to discuss the strategies for fostering a culture of innovation in educational institutes. These sessions have covered a wide range of topics crucial to our professional growth. Your dedication and hard work have made this virtual platform a resounding success, allowing us to come together from different corners of India to learn, share, and grow. I would also like to express my gratitude to the management of GRIT for their unwearying support in organizing this program. Your vision and commitment to fostering the culture of innovation have provided us with a perfect environment to nurture our skills and explore new frontiers of knowledge. To the participant, I want to commend your enthusiasm and commitment. Your presence in this program reflects your dedication to continuous learning and professional growth. Over the course of these sessions, we have witnessed the exchange of ideas, the forging of new connections, and the developments of innovative approach. Each one of you have contributed to the vibrant learning environment that we have created together. As we conclude this program, I encourage you to carry forward the knowledge and insights you have gained here. Let the ideas sparked during these sessions to be the catalyst for the transformative challenge in your classroom, research projects, and professional pursuits. To embrace the spirit of innovation and apply it to only in your own work, but also in inspiring others to think creatively and push the boundaries of what is possible. In conclusion, I would like to once again express my gratitude to each and every one of you to your active participation and unwearying commitment to the pursuit of innovation. Let us carry forward the lessons learned here and continue to make a positive impact to our respective fields. Thank you, and I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Now I request a few participants to give away their feedback for this FDP session. Now I request Dr. Mukesh Patidar. Are you available, sir? Sir, please, you can unmute yourself. Mr. Mukesh Patidar. Sir is the assistant professor. Mr. Mukesh Patidar, sir. You can please unmute yourself. Is Dr. N.S. Murthy available? Please unmute yourself, sir. Dr. N.S. Murthy to give the feedback for this FDP session. Dr. Mukesh Patidar, sir. Dr. N.S. Murthy. Okay, sir, they may not be getting connected. I request Qasim sir just to slide the feedback sessions which we have received from the participants. So that was the feedback which we have received from all the participants. Now I request our director, sir, Jandyala N. Murthy garu, Dr. Jandyala N. Murthy garu to address the gathering, sir.
This feedback is still running?
Yes, sir. We'll stop, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Dear participants, the convener, my pranams and good afternoon to all of you. Delighted to be part of this valedictory of DST sponsored FDP, IRDA in inventions and research and development skills with association with ELIP is coming to an end after an intense discussions, lectures by experts, as well as virtual tour of many companies. As you know, invention has should become the way of life, and startups and entrepreneurs have become sort of the buzzword or the mantra for this generation. Talking about generation, we have named them, if you go back 1,000 years back, that 1900s to 25 period was called the greatest generation because they went through this, what is called the Depression period, the First World War, and various other calamities, health point of view. And exactly after 1,000 years, the present generation, which is called the Gen Alpha, is also went through or experienced what is called the biggest upheaval of this century, that is the COVID pandemic. More or less after 1,000 years, we are going through a similar situation. As you know, that the value systems and also the entire environment is changing over the year, because change is something which is constant. And everybody wants only two things, happiness and prosperity on a continuous basis. For that, the only mantra is come up with something new, come do inventions. And for that, the bottom line is the research and development. And we as faculty are the ones who have to gear up with these ideas so that the generations will get into these aspects. Most of us are working for some institution or the other, maybe for the companies as well, where an R&D is part of their way of life. There are three things that we are supposed to do. One is the knowledge dissipation, dissemination, and the knowledge utilization and knowledge generation. So the last two parts have taken greater importance, that is the knowledge dissemination and utilization through R&D as well as industry interaction or starting the industries itself. So the focus is on that. And this FDP, I think, has done a justice to a great extent. I know it's been a series of lectures for the last 2 weeks. So what we call the Pravachanam stage is over and Prayatnam and Pranalika stage we have reached. What we say is the walk the talk. The talk is over. Let's all get into that aspect of walking. What we have learned, we have to put into use. And the areas like technologies are already coming up with a lot of disruption aspect into our lives. I don't need to name them, whether it's a chat GPT or all those AI tools that have come both in a positive and negative way. It is affecting our lives. So whenever we talk about invention, the morality aspect of it, all of us have to be very clear about it. An invention which is morally upright is called actually the invention. And I'm sure that these 2 weeks has given a food for thought for all of you to focus. I congratulate the convener and the participants and the speakers who have actually spent their time to give away their knowledge. And I'm just hope it yields fruitful results in times to come. Well, congratulating you. I wish you good luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable information or talk for all our blessings to all our participants, so that we'll make it more into the innovation or the entrepreneurship angle where we all look forward. Thank you, sir. Now I request the chief guest of the today's event, Dr. Jahrullah sir. Dr. Jahrullah sir is presently is a founder for Dr. Z Labs. Sir is presently establishing a business incubation center in India, academic R&D and industry, training and skilling the manpower in business incubation centers, and facilitating funding to entrepreneurs and startup companies. Sir has worked as a chief executive officer of Osmania University Technology Business Incubation Center, involved in strategy, planning, execution, leading incubation operations, marketing and development, prime interface for entrepreneurs and management of OTBI. As a chief innovation officer, Atal Incubation Center, ALEEP we have headed with a business incubation centers for AIC, LBI and TBI, strategy, planning and execution, leadership and innovation roles, and spearheading and mentoring, head of R&D, projects and programs. Sir was facilitated a funding with the banking, VC and angel networks, grants and financial support to startups, enterprises and industries. Handholded, empowered 3,000 entrepreneurs and
Hello.
Hello,
Uh,
please unmute yourself. With 3,000 entrepreneurs and 110 plus startups in sector agnostic, with the deep tech and MSME sector, electronics and engineering, IT and ITES, food processing, biotechnology, biodegradable technologies, garment and textile and 3D printing. Sir has facilitated startups valuation reached worth 500 crores and Mighty Tidy 2.0, Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, SISFS and NRDC franchise for technology transfer, incubation centers set up worth investment 30 crores and organized 200 events and programs for the startups and incubators. And startups and incubations, and 65 MOUs were signed. Sir, with an educational background of BTech, MTech and PhD in engineering and biotechnology from JNTUH, ADP from Chicago Booth School of Business, USA. Sir is an expert in STEM, science and technology, science, engineering and management, with a multidisciplinary disciplinary fellow and child prodigy from the schooling. 8th class onwards, started writing research papers from +2 standard and first class with a distinction from 10th class to PhD. He has won hundreds of certificates, prizes and accolades at district, state, national and international level, and had read 6,000 books during engineering graduation, covering most of the subjects. Over to you, sir. Please, sir. We are
Thank you, ma'am, for this very elaborative introduction.
Yes, sir,
I did not, expected that.
Lot of information is there, sir. We need to share to the participants.
Okay, so that's anyhow. Thank you for that, and I hope that I am audible to all the participants.
You are audible, sir.
Yeah. So thank you very much to GRIT. First of all, at the outset, I would like to thank the principal of the college, Dr. Praveen Garu, and then the HOD Hima Bindu Madam of ECE department, and the senior professor Dr. Padma Madam, and Dr. Sudarshan ji, who is also there, who happened to take me here into a leap into the arms of this workshop. So as we know that 2 weeks of intense different speakers, different topics, and you have gone through and immersed totally into a session which gives you experts who have come from their diverse fields and their sectors and deliver their experiences and expertise. And also they have shared their case studies, and you people have also seen various facilities through online mode. And GRAT is very well organized, especially thanks to Padma Madam with her lot of patience and her continuous, complete organizing, being online. She did very well, a very great job for 2 weeks. It's not so easy to handle the sessions online, as we know. So the team of GRAT is very capable and very much, very much effort in the sense of doing this workshop with a standard and quality. So that's what I can say. And coming to ELIP, so we have assisted and co-organized collaboratively with GRAT. Previously, we had an MOU, and now we have given our contribution in the sense like to support the college as from the industry end, and to bring the industry perspective, and moreover, the incubation centers and startup perspective, which will add a very good value addition for this workshop. So that's what we have done from ELIP, which is Association of Lady Entrepreneurs of India. And we have taken a separate session previously on ELIP, and ELIP we have the services, what we do and how we do and all. So this is in a nutshell. So now coming to the background of this workshop. So you people have been immersed, as I told, and these 2 weeks you have gone through several research projects, innovations, and also different sessions that speaks about how the spin-off would be done from this research and innovations, and that would be brought into commercialization stage and also industrialization stage. So now it's the time for all of us, to look into patents and commercialize your patents. So the days were gone where we stop with publication and then we end up there. But now all the academicians, as you people are all the professors in the academic institutes, colleges and universities, I urge that you should come up with your own patents and make them into commercialization stage by becoming a startup. You can have multiple options. Even we have NISP, National Innovation Startup Policy, and National Education Policy 2019 and 2020 respectively. We have these policies to support the faculty and students as well to become a startup company. And you need not always think about that compulsorily you should start a company, but you have an option as being an innovator. I know that most of the academicians may not have certain traits to become an entrepreneur, but still you can license and make royalty of your innovation. So you can license your innovation to any of the entrepreneur, and you can make certain shareholding of certain percentage in the company as well, being in your own place of job, and also continue in your own interest of your academics. So this is what we can opt as an best option, I can say. So those who are interested to go further in the entrepreneurial journey, so they are always welcome. And institutes like organizations like ELIP are the one to support you. We have already supported many faculty and also students, given them grants and given them extra, a very good hand-holding support. So that's what we say, and we have done our job in that manner, and we are always open for you to give this kind of facilitation and support. So now the scenario has been changing. India has seen a number of research in terms of publications, and I generally classify the research into 3-4 categories. Wherever I go, I used to say that research done is classified into 3 to 4 categories. For example, the first category is the basic fundamental research. So what we do in all our branches, it may be our electronics, it may be mechanical engineering, civil engineering, computer science, and you talk any engineering. So we have fundamental research, like we have p-n junction diode as the principle. So if you do any kind of work related to the fundamental principle work, so that comes under the basic research. So it's very intense research, as we know. And coming to the next type, it is actually the hypothesis, speculation, or you can say the general theories that you can do. So finding or making certain hypotheses, so that's another work. You do several hypotheses. Suppose say we do a lot of hypothetical work in computer science. So we can have a lot of hypotheses, a lot of algorithms, a lot of programs can be written by using certain hypotheses in that way. So even in mechanical engineering, we can go for many mathematical models for hypotheses as well. So now coming to third type, which is referred as an data analysis. So we have most of the Indian research goes into data analysis. If you see most of the research work and PhDs, research scholars working on data analysis, it goes into every sector, every engineering branch. You talk about electronics, computer science. So you talk even the polymer technology, polymer engineering, or nuclear engineering. So most of the research goes into data analysis. Even in aerospace engineering also, we have many research work that into data analysis. So data analysis is a third category, and most of the research is falling into this category. Now, the fourth one is the application research. So like, you do a product development out of it. You do a certain product and a service out of it. So both product and services can be obtained, which is the application research. That's what we look now. So application research is the one which has a lot of potential to commercialize, and that has a potential to do the patent, to make the innovation as well. So you do an innovation out of it. So the innovation can be four types again. Like, we have incremental innovation, we have radical innovation, we have sustainable innovation, we have disruptive innovation. So these are the four types of innovations that one has to look for. And most of the research, what we have seen, is coming into the incremental innovation, which is just a simple addition to the innovation. But what we look for an radical innovation and disruptive innovation and sustainable innovation. These are the three types of innovations that we always look for. For example, I take example of a radical innovation. That should be, for example, Tesla car. So Tesla car comes as a radical innovation. And disruptive innovation as well. Like, there is no such kind of technology. It is replacing a complete existing IC engines into a electrical vehicle mode with a battery and a complete setup that gives maximum space in a vehicle and uses nearly 180 sensors, and it moves completely with a different principle, not the IC engine mode, which we have generally, 2-stroke, 3-stroke, 4-stroke auto engines, which we have been using for the last 200 years. So now it's a disruptive technology, disruptive innovation. That's what we actually researchers have to look for. Always look for disruptive innovations, and you need not look behind again for the promotion or advertisement or marketing of the product. It can fetch you a lot of royalty and license for yourself. So that's what we look for. So these are the two aspects. And now, as I told you, most of the research in India is not being encouraged for the basic research, and the number of grants given to the research have been reduced and diminished. And now we wanted to fund to the researchers and moreover to the incubation centers. So that's why if you look here, for the last 6-7 years, policies have been molded, and we have changed the policies in the sense that researchers should get the grant amount who will do the innovation, and that can be commercialized. Only for such kind of the projects that will become startups will be funded more and maximum in number. when compared to the basic research in the R&D institutes or academic institutes as well. So this is what we are changing. The scenario is changing, the paradigm is changing, and the whole country is going to be a superpower soon. And that's what we require: industrialization, industry 4.0, to take up our country to the next level. So that's what the intention. And with this talk, I urge all the the participants to come up with your ideas, and please come and step into ELIP anytime to our office at Pragati Nagar. We can able to help you out with your innovation, even if you want to do technology transfer, even if you want to take any technology transfer, and also if you want to do, take your innovation to the next level, grants. So we'll be here to help you. AAC we have, and we have our president Ramadevi madam, and also she's the CEO of Atal Incubation Center ELIP we have. So she's the person who can support the academicians. Especially madam has taken a special interest to support GRIT. After she told me to involve and also give a extra hand, a very good hand to support the GRIT, I have come into picture. So that's what you have seen together with the great support of the team of GRIT. We can able to see such a great workshop today. So now I offer you to come over to us, and I also request the GRIT leadership team, principal, and the HOD and the other professors, director. Sorry, I have forgotten to mention about the director, just who have spoken, Murthy Garu, and also Dr. Anil Kumar, who have done a great job behind supporting the team. So I just put it over to you that we would like to do an MOU with you as well. We offer you an MOU wherein the MOU goes with a certain a very good roles and responsibility, or can say like a support of activities that we can plan every month. Right now we are giving this kind of mode of MOU to already 4 colleges, and we have scheduled goals and deliverables every month. Like what you have seen this workshop, in a similar way we can do several programs like hackathons, and also FDP sessions, and also we have been scheduled some EDP sessions for student startups, and also to grant the student startups. As already we have given grant to your student startup, Monica, who was an MTech student of your college into robotics. Even we have been mentioning her as a successful startup of AAC we have as well. So we will have a complete year plan, and then we can take up the every month activities. We will give a calendar of every month activities, and then we will run those calendar from ELIP together with GRIT. So that's how this MOU will go. So it's a new advanced MOU that we can offer you. So this is a request to the principal and the senior leadership team over here to take it further of this workshop. So with this talk, I thank everyone, every participant, and also my thanks to Padma madam, Himabindu madam, who has done a wonderful job. And thank you for inviting me today to speak and address the participants of this DST workshop.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable support for making
Thank
our
you.
event very much successful, sir. And also a special thanks to Duhita madam. Madam Duhita madam, please unmute, madam. Yeah, please, madam, can just speak for a minute to address our participants, please.
Thank you, ma'am. I won't be available for all the sessions, but I'm grateful for the initiation taken by GRIT and the principal sir, director sir, Padma ma'am, and also Himabindu ma'am for taking this move forward. And with the continuous support, we have done the successful program. I hope all the participants or the HODs or the lecturers or the faculty, students, along with the students, will have an informative session and keep on increasing your knowledge sessions continue with the elite. And we would invite you with the students to come to our visit our elite industrial estate and see the what are the opportunities are available with us. And thank you so much, Zahulullah sir, for taking this forward out of his valuable time. And thank you everyone for interest with elite.
Thank you so much, madam. So as the open offer is been given to all the participants, we hope all the participants will come forward with their entrepreneur activities and flood related to the ALEP, so that we can bag many more startups to come in with this session, as valuable information has been shared by all the entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Duhita madam and Zarullah sir, for making this event a successful. I hand over to Dr. Himabindu madam for the vote of thanks session.
Thank you, Dr. And a very good afternoon to one and all. I'll start in the inauguration. I actually, on the ending note, I mentioned Dr. Zahurullah Garu. Now, I'd like to start by thanking you first, because without your intervention, the program wouldn't have been this successful as we are seeing it today, sir. I can't thank you enough for your involvement. And on the same lines, I'd also like to thank Miss Duhita. I know I've spammed her with a lot of mails in regards to the resource persons. I'm very sorry. This is the first time we are meeting in person. Very glad to meet you, madam. And the association with ALEP has been very successful, and we can see the 2-week FDP going on wonderfully, especially the interest taken by Dr. Zahurullah. I wouldn't hesitate calling you the entire, a big thanks to you for staging the entire event in such a beautiful way. Thank you once again, sir. And as rightly mentioned by you, now is the time for us to move on from research into entrepreneurship. With the many, with the many callings from the Prime Minister of India in regards to Make in India, or with the establishment of T-Hub, or the organizations like ALEP, they're calling in us to, motivate ourselves as entrepreneurs. And I think this is a right, very well, this is the point where all of us should turn into entrepreneurship, because the theory aspects that we have into place, we have put into practice with research. And now is the time for us to go for a startup or do a small entrepreneurship, which will help students also do better. And that soothed my ears, sir, when you say India is going to be the next superpower. That is very good to hear. And we are definitely going to be a superpower when the faculty comes forward, takes up the notion of making students as entrepreneurs. That is the first step all of us have to take. And that's the main reason why, that was the main motto for us to apply for this DST FTP, sir. In the background, basically, when I and Dr. Anil had applied for this FTP, that was the notion we had in mind, because research is always there in our blood. But beyond research, what is that we are going to do? So, and you coming into picture has escalated the FTP to multiple times, actually. Thank you again for that. And I sincerely thank ALEP for their involvement in conducting the FTP. And with your open arms invite has been accepted by us formally, sir. And I'm sure our principal, sir, Dr. J. Praveen, and our director, sir, Dr. Jandyala and Murthy Garu would be happy with this decision of mine. And they would also invite ALEP with open arms into our college even more. We're already associated with you. It's going to be a next step together. And I once again, I thank you for offering the project, or the funding for Maunika's robotics project. She's very much involved, and she's been given sessions to all the students also, and encouraging them as well in the lines of startup. Thank you very much again. And I sincerely want to thank our management, starting from Dr. KSN Rajugaru, who's been cooperative for us in conducting the FTP, Dr. Jandyala and Murthy sir, our director, who's been constant support for us from the time we have penned the invite. And our principal, sir, he's every day he leaves a message saying that has the sessions been conducted well. He's throughout with us for the entire 2 weeks, and he joined all the sessions wherever possible. That was a big encouragement for all of us. And Dr. J. Sudarshan, who's been instrumental in making sure that we reach to a level the DST workshop is today. And with these, the two names that without mentioning, I shouldn't close the session is Dr. T. Padma and Mr. KNV Qasim. I think these two people have literally proved that it's not the size of the group that matters, but the effectiveness of the group that matters. Both of them have been constantly working on the FDP, and they have been constantly in touch with me and the resource people all the time. I would say I wouldn't have expected a better output from anyone other than these two. And I genuinely thank Dr. T. Padma for putting in all the efforts. And Mr. Qasim, he's literally been the backbone for the event along with Padma madam. Sir Qasim sir, if you can, I'd request you to turn the video on because there's a lot of work that you have done for the FTP. And if Dr. J. Sudarshan is there, I'd also request you to turn on the video, please. And lastly, all the participants who have actively participated in the FTP and made it a grand success. Thank you, one, and thank you all. If I've forgotten to mention any names, I'm pretty sorry about that, but it's a 2-week long FTP, and a special mention to all the speakers, all the 34 speakers who have taken their time from their busy schedules and catered for the participants of DST. I'm sure the speakers from Rich and from Alip and from, my MSME, BIST sir, all of them have taken out their time along with Zahurullah sir to make this FTP a grand success. Thank you, one. Thank you all. And I'd like to conclude the 2-week FTP today, sponsor on innovation, research, and development skills with the national anthem. Thank you. I request all of you to stand for the national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़
उत्कल बंग
विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा
तव
शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
I request all
Jai
of them
Hind.
to just Jai Hind. I request all the participants to just switch on your videos, please. I request all the participants to switch on your videos.
This is for a group picture. I request all of you to turn the videos on so that we have a good group picture.
Yeah.
Qasim sir, are you able to capture? Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll be meeting you in person soon, so we
Thank you.
can discuss further. Even Duhita
Yeah.
madam, we're going
Please
to
come
meet in
to
person
Elite
and we're going
office.
to discuss
Always.
further.
Yeah. Please you will
always
come to
welcome.
our elite
Please
office.
visit Elite. Thank you.
Yeah, firstly, to thank you, we should meet you. And then later we can go forward with other discussions. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thank you,
Sure.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.